I'm back at it again. I'm gonna play another Mega Man game for all you guys. I already beat Mega Man 1, so I figured why not beat Mega Man 2 to go along with it. Might as well start on going through the whole series, I guess. I've just been playing a bit of Mega Man lately because I found some mods for X5 and X6 that I thought I should try out, and they're okay-ish. But this is neither here nor there. We are playing Rockman 2 for the NES. Rockman 2 because I couldn't be bothered to get the English version on my emulator. So yeah, Mega Man 2, a very famous and influential Mega Man title. This was the really breakout hit for the series, as you know. It remained the highest-selling Mega Man game for quite a while until Battle Network 4, which makes me very sad, but yeah. The full title is Rockman 2, The Mystery of Dr. Wily, in case anyone was curious. Yeah, they have subtitles in the Japanese versions, I don't know. So, in the Japanese version, you'll notice that there was no difficulty selection, but in the English version, they added a normal mode, which is easier than the base difficulty in the Japanese version. So, there you go. I wanted to play the Japanese version, both because I couldn't be bothered to get the English version, and because I wanted to play on the hardest original difficulty anyways. So we've entered Metal Man Stage, which starts with a free E-Tank. That's very courteous. E-Tanks are a new item. They will allow you to refill all of your life energy whenever you want. Just go to the start menu and hit the button and you're good to go. However, in this version of Mega Man only, like I think they stopped doing this at 3 onwards, but in Mega Man 2, if you game over, you lose all of your energy tanks and you will be very sad. So it will be very important to decide between trying to press on without an energy tank, or just using the energy tank for safety. Anyways, we've gone through a couple of enemies so far, mostly just been drills and spikes and stuff. Those are metal, I guess, but we haven't really seen anything quite metal. It's Metal Man Stage, so where's all the metal? There are actually not as many enemies as I remember. Is this actually easy mode? Am I just misremembering things? Okay, here we have some enemies. We have Gears with Clowns. Gears with Clowns. I don't really see the connection there. But they're very easy to deal with. You can just run past them, and this is a lot of enemies on screen. It's actually making the game lag quite a bit. Alright, so we have some metal cans now. Alright, so we've got metal cans, metal gears, and we've got clowns on metal gears. And we have weird spring enemies that go boing if one of them hits you, but you're not going to see that because I don't get hit. And that's the end of the stage. Wow. This must be riveting commentary for everybody. Just running unscripted is actually very fun. Alright, so we have the first boss, Metal Man himself. He mostly just jumps and throws those gears at you. Apparently, the number of gears is equal to the number of bullets you shoot, but I don't really see that. He usually throws 2 or 3. So I had to die there because I would much rather face him from full health. So yeah, now it's time to get serious. Alright, so dealing with Metal Man is very simple. You just gotta jump over the blades, kind of get into a rhythm of jumping over and finding the gap between the blades. And then there you go. It's very easy to deal with him. He'll never move from that spot on the right side of the screen unless you get close to him. And that conveyor belt does make things a little bit hairy because when it switches very rapidly, it can kind of confuse you a little bit. So he will only jump to the other side of the screen when you're close to him. This does not stop him from throwing the metal blades, so you gotta watch that. The reason I went to Metal Man Stage first is because beating him gives you the best weapon in the game. A very famous weapon, the Metal Blade, which can be fired as rapidly as the Mega Buster. It can be fired in any direction as long as you hold the control pad in that direction, and it has quite a bit of ammo and attack power. It's just a really powerful weapon. So we're moving into Flashman Stage now. Now, Flashman might give you the impression that this stage is going to be about light bulbs and electricity and maybe disco? I don't know. But no, the name of the game here is actually ice physics. I don't know how they got to ice physics from Flashman, but yeah. So the ice physics are very annoying. But in the Mega Man series, if you want to stop sliding, all you have to do is jump straight up. You lose all horizontal momentum when you land after a jump, unless you are holding the control pad in the direction. This is the first example of a multi-path segment of a stage. They've stuck multiple paths even though these are the same screens, and that was not a good path to take because there were very hard to deal with enemies there. But if you drop down here, there's going to be a life refill for you for free, and dealing with this enemy right here, this is the large Sniper Joe and a mech enemy. Very annoying to deal with. He does a lot of damage, kind of like that big enemy you always see before the boss in Mega Man 1. Anyways, firing at him from this little hole is, it makes him very easy to deal with, so that's something you can do. And you're very much rewarded for pressing through that path, because if you jump along these blocks here, and do not mistakenly fall like I did, you could get an E-Tank. It's right up there. But yeah, I flubbed with the jumps a little bit here. This was not my best showing. But yeah, we're up to the boss now. These stages are actually quite a bit shorter than I remember. I initially thought this was going to be very difficult to deal with, but I suppose I must have played this so many times that I actually deal with it rather well these days. Alright, so Flashman is an interesting boss. He will jump over to you and run left and right in order to try to collide with you, and at times he will freeze the screen and shoot bullets at you. And I apologize for this video quality, I don't know what's going on here. Anyways, Flashman's ability to freeze the screen does not help his accuracy, unfortunately. He's very prone to missing because he can only shoot in a very limited amount of directions there. Kind of annoying to deal with because he tries to stay so close to you, but I suppose if you use the ice physics, you could use the ice physics to your advantage by sliding in one direction while shooting in another. So, for that fight, we win the ability to freeze time with the Time Stopper weapon ourselves, and we also obtain one of 3 utility items. Item 3, as it's called, is a platform that will bounce along the ground, stick to a wall, and start moving up the wall. And you can jump on it to get yourself up to a higher elevation. It's very nice. Next up is Bubbleman, and as if the graphical problems with my video were not bad enough, this screen is about to cause horrible video quality. I guess this codec doesn't like waterfalls? I don't really know what's going on. I apologize, this won't last forever. Anyways, it should be, like, it should be easy enough to tell how I'm dealing with these frog enemies. They shoot little frogs at you, but as long as at least one little frog is on the screen, they'll never shoot again. So if you can keep one on screen and control where he is, then you can easily avoid him while shooting at the frog enemy. Nice and simple to deal with. Now these enemies, if I were on the English normal difficulty, they would actually die in one hit, but in this version of the game they do not. The shell flies off and you have to deal with avoiding that too. Very, very annoying. But I suppose you have to shoot at them. So here's a fun glitch. Now you all remember the pause trick fun from Mega Man 1, right? Well in Mega Man 2 you can use it to move almost horizontally because every time you pause and unpause, your vertical velocity resets back to 0, so it's possible to get much more horizontal distance, and I was almost able to wedge myself in the wall. I was trying to do a glitch where you get wedged in the wall and then you just zip all the way to the right and skip all these enemies. But no, it looks like I have to fight this sort of mid-boss here anyways. A bit of an interesting enemy. If you kill him and then lose a life, he will not respawn, which is very interesting. I'm kind of weirded out that they programmed him that way. But anyways, I was having trouble dealing with him. Apparently the hitbox for that little light bulb you're supposed to hit is smaller than I realized. Too big, maybe for, or too small, maybe for the metal blade to hit it and not the enemy proper. Or maybe the enemy is just immune. No, he couldn't have been immune to the metal blade. He was taking damage. So yeah, the Mega Man games like to stick a bunch of spikes in their water levels, because you'll be jumping higher because you're in the water. This is actually the first Mega Man game to use water physics, where if you are in the water, you will jump higher. And they combine that with very dangerous spikes that kill you in one hit. I wonder how much those spikes cost to put there. You know, I'm always curious how much money Dr. Wily is spending on all these robots, putting them into all these levels. Like, what does the world even care about Dr. Wily's robots if they are all confined to, oh goody, the graphics problem is back. It'll go away, don't worry. So, like, what does the world care about Dr. Wily if all of his robots are in very, like, secluded locations? There's no humans here. Maybe they all ran away, I guess. Anyways, enough talking about that. We're up to the boss, Bubbleman. Bubbleman, I think, is regarded as a very easy boss. He's got a very defined pattern, I would say. So first, if you are on the ground with him, he will shoot these bubbles that bounce. If you can avoid one of them, then just staying in one place will let you avoid all of them, so they're not difficult to avoid. Now, while he's in the air, if he is level with you, he will fire off a very fast bullet that is difficult to avoid, but you should be able to outspeed his damage by shooting him more often than he shoots you. And of course, you've got to pay attention to the spike ceiling, which, actually, you know what, the spike ceiling doesn't really do anything. They even take it away in the rematch. Spoiler alert, there are boss rematches. I guess they didn't think the spike ceiling was worth bothering to put in the extra 5 seconds of effort it would take to define another room for him. Then again, all of the boss rematches are in the exact same room, so I don't know what I'm thinking. So anyways, for defeating Bubbleman, you get the bubble lead, or is it lead? I don't really know. If it's bubble lead, it kind of makes me think you're inflicting lead poisoning on enemies, but the enemies are all robots, so I don't know. Bubble lead is a very not so good weapon. It crawls along the ground and doesn't really damage a whole lot of enemies. So who knows why they made it. Right, so we're up to Woodman Stage. This is this and Bubbleman's theme are like two of the songs that never made it into Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like, I bring that up because every other Mega Man 2 Robot Master theme is in Smash Ultimate, except for Bubbleman and I think Woodman. I haven't checked the soundtrack, so I should go and see, but I think it would actually be more likely for Woodman to be there than Bubbleman. Because nobody likes Bubbleman, right? So anyways, I should be talking about the actual stage. We've got 3 mini-bosses in a row. They're all the same enemy, but this is actually an interesting example of creative level design, because even though you face the same enemy 3 times, the room design is so different that they actually put you in very different situations. Like, this robot is obviously going to be more difficult to deal with compared to the other 2, except for the fact that you can shoot the Metal Blade from a very safe position right here. I think you could do that with a Mega Buster too, but the Metal Blade is just so much bigger. Like, Metal Blades are the most overpowered weapon in Mega Man 2. You're going to be seeing a lot of uses of the Metal Blade. I mean, you could shoot upwards at this bat right here, and then you could... I was supposed to shoot right, but I guess I was holding down for some reason. I was trying to go down the ladder to be level with him, and I shot in the wrong direction. But yeah, this is a much better example of the Metal Blade right here. These monkey robots, they jump at you and try to home in on your position, which is very, very annoying. And you've also got birds that drop eggs that explode into more birds. But yeah, you can clean them away very efficiently with a Metal Blade. And I believe we are up to... what's on this screen? I've forgotten what's on this screen. Just a single rabbit. Okay. Don't know what's up with that. Here's yet another screen with just a rabbit. Like, they're begging me to use the Metal Blade there. Like, they made the Metal Blade so powerful, it's actually kind of concerning. Did they not know how powerful it would be? Ah, but I suppose they must have, because they made this random chicken enemy immune to the Metal Blade. Chicken robots. Seriously? So I tried to demo Time Stopper here. As you can see, it freezes all enemies in place, but unfortunately, that particular enemy is difficult to jump over if he's frozen. It's much better to let him jump over you. So we are up to the boss, Woodman. Woodman is slow but powerful. He's gonna shoot a bunch of leaves into the air, and as long as he's got that leaf shield, he's immune to all forms of damage. Well, almost all forms of damage. You could actually shoot past the leaf shield if you get inside of his hitbox. But he's kind of sort of weak to the Metal Blade. Mega Man 2 also has a weakness chain, but it makes less sense than the one in Mega Man 1, because, like, everything is weak to the Metal Blade. That's your weakness chain. okay, almost everything is weak to the Metal Blade, but the amount of damage that the different weapons inflict is so varied that there's only a really small number of known weaknesses. Like the Wood Shield against... no, Leaf Shield. I made that mistake. I swore I wouldn't make that mistake. But the Leaf Shield is good against Airman. The Leaf Shield, it makes a shield of leaves around you, and as soon as you move, the shield will be fired in the direction you moved in. Kind of an interesting weapon. But we're actually going to make rather creative use of this weapon in Airman's boss fight. Stumbling over my words here. Right, so Airman's level is entirely in the air, as you can imagine, which makes things very dangerous because, you know, just like in Castlevania, you could get pushed off a cliff from one enemy's knockback, and that's very annoying. So that's what makes those boxes with the spike heads that you have to jump onto very dangerous, because you gotta account for the possibility of the spike coming up, and my constant shooting at this enemy. This is actually a very slow section. You have to wait for the enemy to come on screen. Like, their weapons are completely ineffective. I don't even know why they were made to throw something at you, but you have to shoot at them, get on the platform, and then wait until you can get to the other side. It's kind of annoying. There are utility items that could have helped with that, but interestingly, the utility item that could have helped get through that section much faster is awarded for completing this very stage, so it's not, it's kind of convenient. Alright, so we have more of the, I think these are called air tihis actually. I'm not exactly the kind of guy to memorize all of the enemy names, but I think I remember a few of them. Like that bird that drops the egg full of birds is called a Pippi for some reason. Like, means something in Japanese, I guess. Oh yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but there was also a spike on screen that vanished the instant I moved towards it. I think you could actually shoot at it and have your your Mega Buster bounce off of it, which would be very strange to like, hey, what did my bullet bounce off of, and how did that enemy disappear? That's like the only example of in Mega Man 2 of an enemy that you can scroll off the screen. It's a common glitch in some NES games that you can, like, have the enemy go off screen without respawning it. And it kind of causes the game to no longer acknowledge the enemy is there. So Airman's a pretty infamous boss, infamous for being completely easy. Some band out there wrote an entire song dedicated to how difficult Airman was, and then you just do this. In fact, all I did there was equip Leaf Shield and rapidly press the button. I didn't even use up any ammo. Ammo is apparently only used up with the Leaf Shield, and... oh, that got glitchy just a minute ago, and... oh wow. There's actually a track missing from the music here. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, Leaf Shield only consumes ammo if you actually fire it in a direction. But if you do not fire it in a direction and instead an enemy walks up to you, touches the Leaf Shield, causing it to go away, then you can fire the Leaf Shield again and again and again. Interesting. So we got the Air Shooter, which is a very good anti-air weapon. And we got item number 2, which is a jet sled. It goes horizontally across the screen, and you can ride it all the way to the end of the screen if you want. So, moving on, we are in Flashman Stage now, and graphically, this is actually one of the more boring stages because it's just a blue background until you start climbing higher and higher into the stage. This is a very vertical level. So yeah, who knows, I guess they ran out of space for another background and had to make a sacrifice. Still, the music is pretty rad. Have I mentioned the music yet? Mega Man 2's soundtrack is legendary. I love every song in this track, except for maybe Woodman. Yeah. Remixes are just a joy to listen to. Do you know a guy named Hyadane? I think that's how it's pronounced. Look up his remixes. They're very good and very entertaining, especially the Flashman remix. So yeah, it's mostly been waiting for moving platforms to move, and these enemies, which are called tellies, I think. Like, they're the most basic enemy ever. They just move towards you very slowly. And you have to wait for the platform to get all the way up to the top there. I guess I should have beat Heatman Stage first. Oh, here I am. I'm using the jet sled to bypass the rest of the waiting there. Okay, then. That's one thing you can do with the jet sled. I was thinking I should maybe wait until Heatman Stage to play Crashman Stage, because after you beat Heatman, you get a very good utility item that is way more versatile than the other two. But still, item 2 is a very useful jet sled. So we have a couple of screens of climbing with like one enemy. Like, was that enemy supposed to hit me? I'm too slick with my dodging for that enemy to hit me. Alright, so we have a bunch of ladders, cue the Snake Eater theme, I guess. And I could have used the leaf shield to just have all of the birds collide onto the shield and explode, but I guess I could just clean them all out with the metal blade too. It should be obvious why this section can be annoying. If those birds hit you, they can knock you off the ladder and you have to climb all the way back up again. I just kind of wish the enemy variety was a little better in the stage, and I have no idea how that I was supposed to dodge that particular bullet. Maybe I'm supposed to kill the enemy faster. So we've picked up an E-Tank, but it looks like we'll have to climb all the way around the ladder to get back up there, and I just used the jet sled to skip all of that. Yeah. So yeah, that's a nice example of... Oh, these are enemies that are very weak to the metal blade, by the way. They die in one hit. Keep that in mind, because they show up quite a bit more. Alright, so we're up to Crashman. Crashman is unfortunately a boss battle that takes quite a bit of time if you do it the normal way, without the weakness weapon, because he only jumps and shoots the crash bomb when you are firing your buster. You fire, he jumps, so you have to fire in the air in order for him to collide with a bullet. But it takes a while to beat him because the buster only does 1 damage, and that was actually pretty slick. I hit him 2 times with the same air shooter. Air shooter is his weakness, of course, which makes a lot of sense because air shooter is the anti-air weapon and he jumps in the air. One of the first bosses to really jump in the air during his fight. So we get the Crash Bomb, which is a weapon very limited in ammunition, but very powerful if it hits the enemy just right. It's going to be used a couple of times, I hope, in the rest of the game. So now we're moving on to Heatman Stage. You definitely want item 2 before you come in here for reasons you will see very shortly. But until then, we have lava, and we have enemies that are very easy to dispatch with the metal blade. All of these enemies are very easy to dispatch with the metal blade. And coming up soon, we have one of the most infamous traps in Mega Man history. Any minute now. I think the first wall is right up here. It's just a bunch of platforms. Come on! Oh, alright, I guess it's a little further in. Yeah, I hyped all of that up, and then I have to tell everybody that the infamous trap is a little bit later in the stage. I know. Alright, so these enemies can be annoying to get past. They are immune to the metal blade, interestingly. Maybe you're supposed to use the bubble lead. Okay, here we go. The infamous disappearing bricks. They have returned. They're going to be in just about every Mega Man game here on out. Like, they stopped doing them in the X series aside from one very minor disappearing brick section at the end of X5. So yeah, you've really got to memorize the pattern if you want to get past that particular room. It's not that difficult. I would say it's an okay-ish disappearing brick room. And here we have disappearing bricks that you have to time your jumps to get over the walls. Or you could use item 3. I do not use item 3 here, but this is one of the very rare instances of where item 3 would actually be pretty good. So we have these weird-looking walls here. They are actually destructible with the Crash Bomb. It's probably not worth the Crash Bomb energy to use them on walls like this, because you could just climb over with the disappearing bricks anyways. But I suppose it makes things a little more safe, because you have a little nook that you can get into. And speaking of disappearing bricks, coming up next is the most infamous disappearing brick sequence in the whole series. Look at how long this is! It goes over an instant death pit, but no, I'm just gonna use the item 2 to slide all the way across without having to... Look at what I'm doing here. I'm jittering on the edge of the platform. You just have to hold the right to do that. And if you fire it at the right height, you can actually snag that one up. And here's an actual effective use of Time Stopper. Unfortunately, the thing about Time Stopper is you cannot switch off Time Stopper until the energy runs out. You cannot change weapons as long as a projectile is on screen. It's a very, very strange thing. Anyways, we're up to Heatman, another example of a boss fight that can take a while without the weakness weapon. Every time you hit him, he turns into fire and flies across the screen. The Bubble Lead is basically the only effective weapon. Metal Blades do nothing, and the Crash Bomb actually heals him, which is very interesting. I don't know why the Crash Bomb would heal him. Heatman kind of resembles a cigarette lighter, which is probably a reference to a certain anime from the 70s, or was it the 80s? Capcom loves anime shoutouts. But then again, all of the bosses in Mega Man 2 are from a robot design contest. Fans of Mega Man could send in their creations and potentially have them turned into a boss fight. They were doing that as early as Mega Man 2, but the one for Mega Man 6 is the most famous because it was an international contest instead of just Japan. So maybe Heatman's designer was thinking of a certain anime back in the day. And so was Quickman's designer, actually. But enough about that. Quickman Stage is probably the most infamous in the whole game. Like, if it wasn't Heatman, it's probably Quickman. So we're going to pick up this extra life because it's going to be very important. Because guess what we have in this stage? We have the infamous one-hit death quick lasers, which are coming up on this screen. They're very fast. You have to be very careful if you want to avoid them. There's basically, well, you know, the way you get past these lasers is, I don't know how you're supposed to get that E-Tank, honestly. I've never gotten it. But the quick lasers are pretty infamous because they kill you in one hit, and basically the only way to get past them is to, like, either memorize the pattern of the lasers and the path you need to take to get through them, or you just use the Time Stopper so that they never come out at all. Guess which option I used as a kid. Navigating that dark room is also very annoying. So, I don't know if I've just done this section, like, so many times, but I actually got past all of the lasers without using the Time Stopper. It was really shocking that I was actually able to pull it off. I guess I just... Either I've played this so many times that I know, or you can kind of intuit where the lasers are going to come from, and the slowness of the screen transition kind of gives you some time to react, so maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's how I got through it. I could have used the Time Stopper here to freeze this enemy in place, but I actually tried using the air shooter. I guess they don't explode in one hit from air shooter on this difficulty. It's very interesting. Alright, so Quickman as a boss is just like the perfect conclusion to one of the hardest stages in the game. Out of the initial 8, anyways. He is very fast, very relentless, and, yeah. Can be very difficult to deal with without, like, a special weapon or something. His weakness is the Time Stopper, which will freeze him in place and reduce his health by half. So that's a very good start to the fight, and then I wanted to, like, be smart. I wanted to fire the Crash Bomb into the wall and have him just run into it, but unfortunately that was not a very good showing. Not only have I lost the life, I don't have any Time Stopper energy left to try it again because you don't get any of your weapon energy back when you die. So I went with option B, which was to use the Atomic Fire that we got from Heatman. This is the only weapon before Mega Man 4 to have a charge shot. Before Mega Man 4 invented the charge shot, there was the Atomic Fire, and a fully charged Atomic Fire does a lot of damage to Quickman. So I guess this is his other official weakness, if the air shooter wasn't. Air shooter does decent damage, more than the Buster at any rate. So I was trying to let loose the third and final fully charged charge shot, but it wasn't working. I guess I don't have enough energy for it? I don't know. But yeah, I wound up having to use an E-Tank because I didn't want to lose another life to this guy. I mean, he's the only boss left before the Wily stages, so yeah, I may as well just use the E-Tank. There are other E-Tanks you can get here on out, and you know. The weapon we get from him is the Quick Boomerang, which is a very fast weapon. It has a lot of ammo like Metal Blade. It doesn't have the range of Metal Blade, but it certainly has a lot of power against the enemies that take a lot of damage from it. And now we have Dr. Wily's eyebrows. This is also the first Mega Man game to implement a map showing your progress through the castle. Just in case you didn't know, we were going to Dr. Wily's fortress, which has a very weird exhaust pipe on the right and a satellite on the left. And here we have the most famous song in the entire soundtrack to Mega Man 2. I almost want to break out and sing when I hear this music, because I can't help it. I can't help but think of the lyrics to this one song that a Japanese band wrote. It's just so iconic. So yeah. We start with some walls that you have to use either item 1 or item 3 to climb. Item 1 is what we got from Heatman. It is a levitating platform that slowly rises up. It'll be very helpful in a segment coming up here. But until that point, oh yeah, item 3 also moves up when you are standing on it, but when you are in the air it will move down, I think. I think that's how it works. It seems to be. So I don't know why that second ladder there is, right next to the one I just climbed up. Like, why would you want to climb down? There's nothing there. So we got a couple Sniper Joes. I'm just gonna try and get past them. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna damage Bruce through them. This is not a damageless run. I can take hits if I need to. Alright, so this screen has to be handled in a very specific manner if you want this to not make you tear your hair out. You gotta fire item 1, like so. First from while hanging off the ladder, and then you just have to get as much horizontal distance as possible before making the next platform. There's no way to get to that ladder without item 1. So if you run out of ammo, it looks like you're going to have to game over. And I have no idea why there were enemies on that screen with a ladder. There's no way they're going to hit you. So here we have another iconic boss because it's just so cool. Even in today's time, this is like one of the most epic boss battles, I would say, because you're just innocently jumping along these platforms, suddenly it turns into an auto-scroller, and suddenly you have a Mecha Dragon chasing you. The Mecha Dragon is one of the more famous bosses because of it. And like with it, Airman Stage, if you get hit in the wrong position, you're going to fall off, so be very careful about your placement here. I almost fell off and died. But yeah, this boss, weak against the Quick Boomerang, you can fire it very rapidly. Especially if he gets in close to you. Alright, so that's stage 1 completed. There are... how many stages are there in Wily's fortress? 2, 3, 4, 5... I guess I'll just count the dots. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there are 6 stages. Alright, so Dr. Wily Stage 2. We start off with these enemies that I really should be using the Metal Blade against. Hey, me, are you gonna use the Metal Blade? Alright, you're using the Metal Blade. Good, me. Good past me. I just recorded this yesterday. So they placed a weapon energy capsule there just in case you ran out of item 2, but there's no way you would use item 2 in stage 1, so yeah. If you wait to jump onto that ladder, you can snag a free E-Tank. You have to be a bit daring to get that E-Tank, but it's otherwise very easy to get, so you might as well pick it up. I really wish those weapon energy capsules didn't, like... oh, by the way, there's a E-Tank behind a crash bomber wall. A crash bomb wall. You have to use a crash bomb to get it. But do not do it because you need crash bombs later on in the fortress. And if you use them now, the weapon energy doesn't refill between stages. So if you use it now, you might not have enough when you need to get crash bomb at a later point in the fortress. I've been talking for way too long. So I tried to use item 3 to get up this wall here, but I ran out of energy and did not make it all the way to the top, so I have to, like, use item 1, and I have to... This is why, by the way, people don't think item 3 is a very good utility item, because item 1 gets the job done anyways, or at least it would if I weren't so bad at this, and they put an enemy up there that you're probably going to get hit by, and then fall back down, and you have to do it all over again. Kind of annoying. I wish these were destructible. Alright, so we have just a couple more falls, and then we will be up to the second Dr. Wily boss. I don't really get the point of these rooms. There's really no threat from the spikes there. So we have a boss that is, again, a very interesting creation. This is very creative because the wall comes out to form the boss that you have to fight, or the enemies rather. It's like that one floor-tile trap from The Legend of Zelda. It's very cool. Just make sure you're not in the path of this thing when it's forming, because otherwise you might... Like, if you were standing under one of those blocks at such a low amount of health, you might just instantly explode. Wait. Did all of the blocks come back when I had the thing paused? That was very weird. Of course, there are still glitches in the early Mega Man titles that can be very funny when they come out. Alright, so we're up to Wily Stage 3, which is incredibly short, shorter than I imagined it was, in fact. For some reason, I remember this stage being very bad, but it's not really that bad, to be honest. Playing it isn't that terrible. Oh yeah, they're tempting me with another E-Tank behind 2 Crash Bomb walls. Still, yeah, you still want to save your Crash Bombs, but there are weapon energy capsules immediately in the next room, so I suppose you could spend your Crash Bombs and then recover there, if you wanted to. So yeah, we start with water and a bunch of jumps over spikes, and we have fish jumping out. Someone's got to have been caught by one of those and fallen into the pit, I swear. Which would be very annoying if it was on your last life, because again, you lose your E-Tanks if that happens. So this is a very annoying section. Run off that platform and then fall, you won't touch the spikes, but then you have to carefully direct Mega Man so that he does not smash into any spikes on the way down. The falling spike tunnel, I guess, is something that they repeat on occasion in Mega Man, and it's kind of annoying, but you do have plenty of time to kind of see what you need to do as soon as you regain control. And at least in this game, you can use the pause trick to reset your vertical velocity so you have more time to react. And that's it, actually, for Stage 3. Now we're up to the boss, which is, again, a very creative idea. It's a giant Gutsman tank. That is epic. It's just so cool looking, too. His hitboxes are a little weird, though. You can get on top of the little platform in front of him and then just shoot his head with quick boomerangs. Very easy boss to defeat. He only has a gun and a little chute that shoots out meteors. Meteors, that's what the little enemy with a hard hat is called. I think in some Mega Man games they used to be called hard hats or met tools or something, but Meteor is the name I've known for years. Alright, Stage 4. Stage 4 is potentially very annoying. There are, again, weapon capsules to refill your Crash Bombs because you need those in this stage. And another thing that's annoying about Stage 4 is that it introduces yet another kind of annoying-ish concept. I mean, it's not as bad as the quick lasers or the Heat Man disappearing bricks, but we have invisible gaps in the floor. They are fake floors. You cannot tell they are real or fake until you've fallen in. So that can be very annoying, but fortunately, the bubble lead finally gets a niche use here because it crawls along the ground, and you'll see me do this later on in the stage. The bubble lead crawls along the ground, so it will actually fall into the pits, letting you know where they are. So that's good. I suppose they wanted to give the bubble lead at least some use, and that was super annoying. They should not have put a invisible pit there. Like, what purpose does it serve? It just makes me have to climb the ladder again. Alright, so there's a pit there. I know this because, thanks Bubble Lead, you actually did something good. And I know where to jump now, because I shot off the Bubble Lead. But again, don't use up all your ammo. And it's going to be especially useful in this room because now the punishment for falling is an instant death. So if you haven't figured out that the Bubble Lead can scout out where the floors are, now's the time to do it. And again, same thing here. Wow, I can't believe that shot actually destroyed both Meteors. That was actually pretty cool. But with Bubble Lead, you can scout out where the pits are in this room, so you can snag that very free E-Tank, all things considered. Even if you had to discover on your own where the pit was, I suppose you would eventually just think, oh, I can use item 1 or item 3 to climb up there. Very simple. So now we have rooms with the my voice. We have rooms with the platform on a path with enemies surrounding you. Very easy to deal with if you use the wood shield, because they will just get rid of all the enemies for you, and then you can just fire it off and then be on your way once you're at the end. Of course, the game's going to throw in a couple of annoyances. Like in this room, where since the platform is now going under a gap that is too small for Mega Man to get through, you have to jump onto this platform and then just ride the platform up to the top and then jump off it again. Still, I don't really like this part of the level too much because it's all about waiting for the platform, because it starts all the way on the left side of the screen and you're on the right, and then you have to just fire the leaf shield and then just let it do its thing while you wait for the platform to get all the way to the other side of the screen again, and that annoying noise is like draining your ear off. Or draining your ear off? What kind of a saying is that? Anyways, now that we're past that, we have one more room with no enemies, and instead you have to land on the platform, and then... what the heck do you do here? I actually don't know how you get through this room, because you can't ride the platform all the way to the other side. Do you have to just, like, jump onto the platform and then hope that you have enough distance to make it to the other side? Do you use the pause trick? Well, I just use item 2 for this. It's not like it costs that much item 2 energy. How are you supposed to get through that without item 2? Maybe you're not supposed to. Ah, these enemies are immune to metal blades. That's rather shocking. This is the last room of the level before the boss. The boss of Wily Stage 4 is another infamous moment. And it's not necessarily... I could have scrolled that enemy off the screen, actually. And this is probably like one of the worst parts of the game. This is definitely a section that I would not call good game design. So, I don't know if you can see it because of the video quality, but there are 5... what do you call them? This is called the Booby Trap, I think. It's very annoying. You have to navigate this room using item 1, and you have to use crash bombs to destroy whatever those things are. And you saw nothing. I did not rewind after firing that crash bomb. Excuse-moi. But yeah, you have to use the crash bombs to destroy the walls so you can get to the beams. And I just died. And unfortunately, this is how far it sends you back when you die, but I can't really retry that boss without full health. So I'm actually going to have to go all the way back and not get hit so that I have more health for the boss. I wasn't going to use an E-Tank either because those are in short supply right now because I just refused to get the E-Tanks that costed the Crash Bomb energy. But you can see why I refused to get the E-Tanks that costed Crash Bomb energy to get to, because in order to deal with that boss you need exactly 7 or 8 Crash Bombs, and you only have like 7 or 8 Crash Bombs. So you see the problem, right? If you run out of Crash Bomb energy, then you have no choice but to game over or farm the enemies in the previous room for more weapon energy. And that is not good. You know, at least in some of the later Mega Man X games, they refill all of your weapon energy after a death. Just in case you... well, you're never really forced to use weapon energy against most bosses. But oh well. So yeah, not one of the... you know, one of the very bad moments in Mega Man 2. This is one of the bosses... interesting idea because it's a puzzle boss, but without some kind of free refill for your Crash Bomb energy, it's just not a good idea in my opinion. And you also have to be smart about how you navigate the actual room, because if you just fire off Crash Bombs over and over again, then it's like you're gonna run out of energy before all of the enemies are destroyed. Now, the good thing is that when you die in that room and come back to it, at least all of the Crash Bomb walls that were destroyed stay destroyed, but the actual enemies that you're supposed to destroy do not stay destroyed. So you could, in theory, like, use one life to at least get rid of the walls first. Like, you could get rid of all of these walls and then farm the Crash Bomb energy back up on your next life. But, you know, I still don't like it. I would much prefer, like, anything but this. I mean, if they gave the Crash Bomb more ammo, then that would be better. Or if they put, like, some kind of... Oh, wow, that was weird. I had no idea you could destroy the wall there with that position of Crash Bomb. But yeah, there's only one of them left. Unfortunately, I'm running low on item 1 energy, so I'd better be careful about how I get through here. Just gonna dodge the shot there, and then I'm going to ride the platform up here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to use item 1 to get up there, so I have to make a very, very precise edge jump to get up there. That's another thing that's annoying. Precise edge jumps. You kind of want to avoid those in your game as much as possible. If you were thinking of making a platform game, don't put in silly edge jumps like that. Anyways, there are only 2 stages left, so that's the good news. And next up is the boss refight stage. Now, unlike in Mega Man 1 where the boss refights were placed throughout the fortress levels, this time around, this game starts the trend of putting all of the boss rematches in a single room. You have 8 teleporters that will send you to a room with the boss in them, and then you can just fight the boss, and each one of them will now drop a health recovery item, so that's helpful for this endurance challenge that they want to put you through here. But, you know, considering that you have all of the weapons and Metal Man dies in 2 hits to his own weapon for some reason, yeah, this is actually not the hardest thing in the world. By this point, you should have plenty of skill for dealing with these bosses, because, you know, some might scoff at the idea of just recycling the same bosses over and over, but they do serve one purpose, which is to show how far you've come through your own journey through this game, because now you're actually seriously good at the game. At least I hope you're seriously good at the game. You could be a Japanese comedian who is still bad at Mega Man after playing so many of the games in this series that he has to be told the weakness order in every game he plays. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I mocking a certain somebody? Sorry, I shouldn't do that. So yeah, again, I tried to use Atomic Fire here and it didn't work out, so I'm just going to use Air Shooter. Air Shooter is a decent weapon for Quick Man. Not the best. The best is probably either the Crash Bomb or the Time Stopper, depending on your viewpoint. And it's at this point that I realize that I'm starting to run low on weapon energy quite a lot. Well, maybe not for the Quick Boomerang, but definitely for Metal Blade, because I've just been using it so much because it's the best weapon ever. I think against Bubbleman, I really should have just used the Quick Boomerang, because I've really got to start what is the word? Conserving. That's the word, yes. I'm good at English. You need to really start conserving weapon energy if you want to use Metal Blade against some of the end bosses here. But then again, after the boss rematches, there are only really 2 bosses left, I want to say. What do you say to a boss with multiple forms? Does it count as 2 bosses or just 1? Oh well, I suppose we'll find out eventually. So why did I equip Quick Boomerang for Airman? I don't know. Actually, I don't know who's going to come up until I enter the room, so I just have to wait for Airman to bounce all the way to the other side of the screen and then do the same trick. Luckily, you only need 1 Leaf Shield remaining for Airman, for some reason, because they made it so that the Leaf Shield energy only depletes if you actually fire the weapon. And then you have Heat Man, who's very simple. We're just going to deal with him very quickly. Yeah. You know, it would actually be pretty funny if instead of just fighting them one at a time, you had to fight all the bosses at once. But I think that would make your NES explode, so that it's probably a good idea that they didn't do that. I am, of course, referring to a PC fan game that does exactly that. So, now we are up against the Wily Machine. After all of the rematches, this is the next challenge that lies before you. And I did not do a good job on my first attempt. There's a very rigid pattern here, but it can be a little bit difficult to learn if you're not quick on your feet. Fortunately, if you lose a life in this level, then you don't have to fight all of the bosses all over again. You just have to fight anybody that you hadn't already defeated. And in my case, that means just this guy. So yeah, this is the pattern you want to use. Just jump over the little orb and shoot at the glass panel on the front. Very simple to beat this guy even with just the Mega Buster. Now, you might want the metal blade for this part because it would allow you to fire without having to jump, and against these projectiles, having to jump makes it a lot more dangerous. So yeah, I'm unfortunately going to have to use an E-Tank here as well. I thought about using the metal blade, but I'm out of metal blade ammo, and the quick boomerang does, well, it does something to him. There's not really that much of a difference between using the quick boomerang and the Mega Buster, but whatever. Just one more stage now. We are in the home stretch here, people. There's a secret 6th stage here that doesn't show up on the map. That must have been very shocking to a lot of people. Okay, maybe not to a lot of people. But it's just an empty corridor with no music, which I find very strange. I guess it's foreboding. But they could have put in, like, some kind of ambiance. I don't know why I'm using the pause trick to get over to the right, because you'll probably be over to the right if you just hold right on the control pad anyways. I did that because I wanted Mega Man to be on the right side of the screen so that he walks past these drops of, what are they, blood? Anyways, they only drop after a short amount of time after they enter the screen. So if you're on the right side of the screen, you'll be way past them before they have a chance to drop. You definitely don't want to get hit by any of them and die in the final boss fight. So yeah, it turns out that Dr. Wily was an alien all along, and now suddenly the entire series makes sense. Yeah. But really, this boss just has the most simplistic pattern ever. He only ever moves in a figure 8 while firing a single bullet like that, so it's very easy to avoid him. I'm still going to get hit because I made a couple mistakes, I fired at the wrong time maybe. His only weakness, by the way, is the bubble lead. Yeah, the most useless weapon in the game probably, and it's the final boss's weakness. That's going to become a trend in this series, I imagine. But you don't want to hit him with anything else, not even the Mega Buster, because it will heal him back to full. So if you ran out of bubble lead energy, time to get a game over, I guess, because that's the only way you're getting all of your weapon energy back. I had to use that final E-Tank just for safety. I'm glad I picked it up. And yeah, it turns out that Wily was faking it all along. He was not actually an alien. Or was he? Because come on, if you consider the greater scope of the Mega Man story, it does kind of make a lot of sense. I wish Wily was an alien. Now, actually, that would have been quite the twist. But whatever. It's over. We've beaten all of the bosses. The entire game is completed in far less than an hour, I must say. And now we have an ending sequence that I don't really understand. We just beat Wily, we should really be taking him to jail or something. And then we just have Mega Man walking, starting in autumn, and then it switches to winter, and then spring, and I don't really get what they're trying to do here. But anyways, yeah, that was Mega Man 2. Definitely a very vast improvement over the original game. The original game was kind of quirky, but it was kind of good too. But Mega Man 2 is just like, wow. The music is so much better, the graphics are so much better, the enemy variety, the weapon variety, the boss variety. Like, all of those bosses were so cool, and we end with a shot of Mega Man's helmet on the open field. I don't really get it. But yeah, Mega Man 2 sold a bunch and basically secured the existence of the rest of the series. So, for that, it's a really great game. Oh yeah, Metal Man is the true Mighty Number 9, am I right? Dies in 2 hits to his own weapon. How pathetic. So yeah, it's listing off all of the bosses and their original designers. I want to shake hands with these people because they have just contributed to one of the best games on the NES. Now, I'm the kind of guy who thinks that the later Mega Man games are a lot better than Mega Man 2, but unfortunately, a lot of people seem to prefer Mega Man 2 over the rest of my favorite games, which is unfortunate, because it kind of caused Capcom to, like, when Capcom eventually made Mega Man 9, they decided to make it, like, an exact clone of Mega Man 2. In my opinion, it's an exact clone. Like, there's no slide, no charge shot, Nothing that was introduced over the next games was included in Mega Man 9 except for like the shop. And here we have Yuki-chan's Papa. What a weird thing to put in the credits. But yeah, I like Mega Man 2. I just don't like how sometimes the developers of the later games look at Mega Man 2 and decide to copy off of it exactly because it sold the most, or it was the most popular, or the most noteworthy. Like, there's nothing wrong with liking Mega Man 2, it's just the series improved from here, and now I kind of want to go on to the other games and play through those again, because this has actually got me hyped up to relive the glory days of the NES. So, hope you look forward to whatever I decide to do in the future. I'm Efren225, this has been Mega Man 2 for the NES. See ya!